I've got a beautiful dress to share. It's made from a blouse pattern, but a blouse can usually be a dress as well, so I couldn't resist. Lots of little hacks. I had so much fun. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing. I'm going to share my Muse dress. Now in the previous episode, I shared all about the Muse Blouse, which is a new pattern from Love Notions. It's for woven fabrics. There's lots of options. You can make 20 of these and they will all be different if you use up all the options. And I showed you my blouse version. I used Liberty of London fabric that I bought recently, and this has a banded collar, little puff sleeves, just got a regular body and a bust dart there. I showed you this one with jeans. I always knew I was going to make another version with a ruffle neckline. The sewing was going to be quite different. If I tried to add up both of those into just one episode, it would have been like an hour long with all the things that I wanted to share. The Muse Blouse, because it's new, it's in its release week. I Love Notions, 24% off. Sale ends Monday the 16th of February, so don't miss out if you love it. There's so much you can do. All the information at the top of the comment section and in the description box. And remember, I have a coupon code that you'll find there as well for an extra 10% off. There is a skirted version here. It's a separate bodice and a skirt. Now to make it a dress, all I did was cut this skirt piece in half. You know, it's that big and I just doubled the length. I measured that, you know, I know what the length of my skirts need to be for this to be right above the knee where I wanted it. So turning this into a dress was very easy. There's nothing hard about making that skirt piece longer. If you sewed it as per the original design, would be at the mid hip around there. This just goes down further. Now the other change I wanted to do was make this bodice longer. It's designed to hit between the below the bust and the waist, so anywhere around there. We all have different torso lengths, heights, so this could end up hitting you in a very different place, very customizable. But from the get-go, I know I like a seam at my waist. It's not like you're deforming it if you're making it a little bit longer. So let me show you that. These are the bodice pieces for the Muse for this version that's going to have a separate skirt. I had mentioned I added length because I want mine to hit my natural waist, even though the design is meant to hit a little higher. I think that's something that you can change if you want to. Because I needed to lower my bust dart by 1 1/4 inches, I did two things in one. So I added that length right here above the dart, and that brings the dart down while also adding length. The rest of the length I needed, I used the shorten and lengthen line down here. So I have the length I need extra here and there. I'm also going to add sneaky extra darts. I added some darts right here on the bodice, right here on the back. What I did was divide this in half, just mark that and draw a line up. A little below the armhole, that's where I drew the tip, and I drew a simple dart. 5/8 of an inch on each side right here. That's how it looks like up closer. It's just going to take a little bit of extra ease away from the waist. It's still going to be plenty roomy. And I did the same here on the front. This is a smaller dart though. From the center front, I measured out 12 centimeters, which is actually the half of my apex to apex point if I look from the front. So it's going to make sense for me. And that's where I drew my dart up. That's the apex. So you can see where this other dart hits. I never want to go all the way up because then it looks pointy. So I'm down by about 1 inch. And this dart is smaller. It's just 3/8 on each side. Tiny little things I'm adding. It's still the same pattern. I just took some ease away from the waist. I'm still going to be able to slide it on. It'll still be nice and roomy. With those darts added in there, front and back, I'm basically reducing the ease of the waist by about 4 inches. Even with those 4 inches removed with the darts, I'm still going to have plenty of ease at the waist. So I decided to add ties. This is something you'll see in some patterns, and if you don't see it and you like it and you want it, go ahead, just add them onto the side seams. And I made those with the tiniest of scraps after I cut my dress. I do enjoy a defined waist. I have an hourglass figure. Whether I'm a certain weight or another, the shape sort of stays the same. And if I have something with more ease at the waist, just hanging below the bust, sort of straightish, I just feel really unbalanced. So the ties do the trick beautifully. Just bring the waist in and I'm a happy camper. What fabric did I choose? I have so much fabric. I mean, beautiful fabric I bought recently. I've been on a little trip around Europe and I brought with me fabric souvenirs. Okay, from far away, I saw this one. It stood out to me. This is a rayon satin. It's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. I love that. I love that so much. It's got all the colors I love. And it seems to cost 18 euros, maybe. But this is a rayon satin I bought in Frankfurt. Amazing colors. The drape is just out of this world, and it's slightly heavier than just the typical rayon. So it's perfect for a dress. It's got a slight sheen. It's just beautiful, and I love the color combination. It's going to be perfect with this. I don't need to worry about matching up anything. I can just cut and sew. So that is nice. I'm going to show you my dress, and then I'm going to show you the sewing at the end. Check it out. It's so pretty. So with the other cotton version, I had the banded collar. Instead, I have a ruffle. I decided to create my own facings in there because I just like the feeling of facing. It's really flat and I find it easy to sew as well. So I created my own facings. That was easy to do. For this one, I'm going to do the ruffle neckline version. So to enclose that, I decided to create facings all the way around instead of using bias tape. I'm just a fan of facings and I know I'm going to enjoy this a lot. I took as reference the banded collar width to create my facings. So I just put that there and then measured the same amount. And I created the back facing right here, which is actually this piece. So it's super easy. This is going to be my back facing. The ruffle is going to be between the neckline and the facing. So it's going to come out through here. For the front, we had this partial facing that just covers the V area, but I extended it to include the whole thing. Then I recreated this whole piece. Let me take this out. It's going to cover everything. So the V and the whole rest of the front. So all my neckline is going to have a facing and the ruffle in there, and I know I'm going to like doing that. So there's a facing on the inside. I have the same extra type of interfacing I have over here, but due to the nature of the fabric, it is rayon after all. It's not the most structured thing, so it sort of just flops. Sometimes it stays up, sometimes it just falls. I think that is absolutely fine. Now in the pattern test, some people sewed little ties in here, right in there, so that you could tie it up here, and so that makes it stay up. You can do that, but I like it. I'm just going to let fabric behave how it behaves, you know. If I'd done this with cotton, it probably would stand up. So that is that. Over here, I have extra darts. Those are super easy to add in, front and back. My waist dart is right there. All of these darts, you can't see them. They're just hidden in there. It's all fine. Now, this is something that I thought about because limitless sewing is everything. When I was preparing to do this, I thought, why don't I add the same detail here at the sleeve? Now, this is so cute. This is not part of the pattern. This is just me having some fun, and I'm going to show you how I did that. Instead of a facing on the inside, I have bias tape that finishes it in there super nicely. Here are my ties. Very easy. I had so much fun adding my own spin to this one. You know, it's still the same pattern. The bodice is just a little longer. Little dots here and there, little ties. It's just little tweaks to make me feel happy, and because I can, and why not? So that's what limitless sewing is all about. Just being free and adding your own spin to things like this. Look how that looks like on the inside. It's so adorable. This makes me so happy. I mean, I'm happy about the dress, but this is just the most delicate thing. I love how that turned out. Now this is how that looks like on the inside. There's the facing, front and back. I have interfacing on all of this area on the main piece as well. And that's how the facing looks like on the back. Super neat. You know, I have no ways to style this as I would want to if I was in Brazil. This would be presented to you with nicer shoes and everything. I literally only have combat boots and sneakers here. So combat boots it is. Oh my gosh, sewing friends, it's cold. Here is my Muse dress hack. It's a skirted version. It's supposed to be a top, but I just made the skirt double the length and it's ended up right above my knee. Really love it. I do have some changes to the bodice that I'll show you up closer. I just feel more comfortable with some waist shaping, so I've done a little bit of that. In essence, the same pattern. And I have a ruffle neckline up here on the top. These are rayon satin I got in Frankfurt and I love it. I've got long sleeves and a little hack. First thing is that I've made my bodice 3 inches longer. I added the length in 2 sections, one above the bust dart, one below. I just wanted this bodice to be at my natural waist and I've achieved that. This is how it would fit without tying it up. I've added these extra ties here on the side seams, nothing special, just little ties. And I've got some extra dots here on the waist and on the back as well. Takes a little bit of the ease, but you can still see there's plenty of ease right here. If this was a top, it would just be like this. If I'd made it as a top, I would wear it over something fitted. This is how it would look with the bodice, just loose and all the ease that you want. And I have the little extra ties here for waist shaping, and it's something I always like. They are pretty discreet, they blend into the print. You can't even see that they're there. I'm very realistic about this fabric. It is a rayon, it's a rayon satin, and even though I added extra interfacing and all of that, it's probably still gonna flop. I have long sleeves. As a hack, I added the ruffles over here instead. I have binding inside to finish it off, and it's a super nice clean finish, and I think it's adorable if I don't say so myself. Totally matches what I have up here on the neckline. Matchy matchy right there. I think the neckline is so cute, so delicate. Yes, it could be a little more structured, but rayon's gonna do this to you. Even if it flops over a little bit, I'm still super happy. I think it's mega cute. Love how this dress turned out. It's super nice. Right now I'm gonna be wearing it with a jacket because it's absolutely freezing. If you like to see all the practical bits and all the nitty-gritty about the actual sewing, that's what's coming. Here's a photo of my sleeve piece. I just took the top part of the sleeve that's supposed to have a T that comes gathered underneath. I don't have enough fabric for that T detail at the bottom, so I just extended this to be full length. I kept the same angle, just going down smoothly, measured at the bottom that the circumference is okay for my wrist, and I'm happy with that. Easy peasy. Here are the facing pieces I created for myself for this one. Same block fusing as always, fabric slightly larger, already interfaced, and now I can trim out my shapes and be confident that it's going to be as per the original shape and size. I'm going to be making the same markings I did to that little V, like I did in the previous episode that had the banded collar. It's just that this one's going to have a ruffle instead, but this doesn't change. Here are the pattern pieces for my Muse dress. This is going to be a hack. Here are my bodice pieces, my front and my back, both on the fold. I've got this area interfaced in the middle, just like you saw me sew in my first version of the Muse that had the banded collar. In this case, I created my own facing pieces from the same main pieces. It's very easy. I showed you how to do that. So I have my front and my back right there. And in between the neckline and those facings is going to be this ruffle right here. The pattern has a measurement for you to cut out this rectangle. I just cut out mine a little bit taller. So I believe it's 2 1/4 and I cut mine 3. So I just want my ruffle a little bit taller. Just personal preference, doesn't change anything. 2 skirt pieces. This is supposed to be this big. I actually doubled the length. All I did was cut my pattern piece in half and then add the length in the middle and then kept the same angle. So those are 2 skirt pieces, the same for the front and the back. So my sleeve is a regular sleeve. I'm actually not mad about it because I do prefer simple long sleeves because they create less bulk on the jackets. So I am not upset about this. I did have a tiny little bit left over, so I created some rectangles, the same as for the neckline. I'm going to add a little ruffle under here. I think this is going to be super cute. This is a hack. It's not part of the pattern, just something I'm doing for fun. And from scraps as well, I have a little bit of bias tape that I'm going to use to finish that on the inside. The ruffle and facing are coming in here soon, so I want to conserve this shape. I don't want it to stretch out. So with any woven project, I'm not skipping the stay stitching. I'm going from the shoulder into the center, flipping the fabric from the shoulder into the center. The same for both the front and the back. I'm keeping it within the 3/8 seam allowance that we're going to use later. After stay stitching, I did sew the shoulders. Different to the other version with the banded collar because we did this first. In this case, because I have a whole facing, I need to have this done first. So that's all ready. Another step I quickly did was sew all the darts. I have my bust darts here, and then I have extra little waist darts right here on the front and on the back. So I sewed 6 darts in total. Can forget about those. Here is the facing put together, sewn at the shoulder seams pressed open. I've also cleaned up the edges with the serger. That's enough for me. I actually prefer doing this than folding the facing. I think a serged edge is nice and neat and flat, and it just feels less bulky on, so I prioritize that. And here you can see the marks I've drawn on my facing. The same as I did with the banded collar, I didn't cut into this shape. So if you did cut into it there, then this would be your seam because you're sewing 3/8 away from the edge. This would be the edge, it's just that I'm not cutting it, so I drew it instead. So this is my seam line right there. Now when we do the ruffle on the neckline, the ruffle is going to go right up to there, next to the seam line, on this side and on the other side. So let's prepare the ruffle. The ruffle is just a really long piece. So what we need to do is just take the short ends and sew them and flip them. And that's going to give you the edges of the ruffle. So on both sides, it's just a little seam. Super easy. Now that the ends are closed, we flip it. And we're going to press this wrong sides together lengthwise so that it's super neat. And then along here, we're going to do gathering stitches. So I've got the 2 raw edges together. I've already been to the iron. And now I'm sewing the first row at about 1/4 inch long stitch length. I'm going to do the next row at 5/8 of an inch so that when we sew this on at 3/8, the seam will end up right in the middle of these 2 gathering stitches. And it just makes everything so nice and neat like that. I've got my neckline right there. This is the area that's interfaced extra. And I've marked the middle there. That's what I did from the beginning. And now I brought this facing that has all the marks and I've just transferred my stitching line here to the main neckline. So I've drawn my little lines right here. When I pin the ruffle, I'm going to start pinning on this one, go all the way around and then stop pinning right there, leaving that gap in the middle. I can still see my marks there. And this is where I'm going to take my ruffle, place that finished edge right against my line here and pin it. I've got a pin here in the center of the ruffle that I'm going to match to the center back right here. And that's how I'm going to start pulling the threads and gathering. On this side, this edge will come and meet the little line that I have right there. Once I have all of this gathered and pinned on, I'm going to bring the facing and place it on top. So there we have it, matching the little lines that I have right there. Okay, I've done all the gathering here, right sides together. It looks super cute. Remember, we have a gap here. That's where the little V is going to come in. Now I'm going to bring my facing and put it right sides together. And basically the ruffle is going to be sandwiched between the facing and the lining in the way that I'm doing it, of course. So I'm going to align my markings here, the center with the center. I have lines at the back to match everything. I made sure to align everything properly here where it's supposed to be. And of course, I'm going to be hand basting this in place. Especially with this fabric. This is satin rayon. It's quite slippery. It moves around everywhere. So I want to make sure that this is very accurate. So I'm going to hand baste that in place and then I'm going to keep placing this, matching up the shoulder seams. Everything's going to match 1 to 1. And then we're going to sew like this, around, flip it to the inside. And when we flip it, this is going to magically appear here on the neckline ruffle and it's going to be super cute. Okay, there's all the hand basting. Now I'm going to go ahead and sew. It doesn't really matter where you start. I'm going to start somewhere around the back and just go all the way around super carefully. Now when I start there, it's important that I'm not sewing the ruffle, that I'm sewing just right next to it. And I can feel that I'm just next to the ruffle and I'm not going to sew through it. Same as here, I'm going to touch and feel that I'm just sewing right next to the ruffle. Okay, there we have it. You can see the seam line and now I'm going to cut through the shape that we originally had and I cut down through the V so that we can flip it. And then around here, I'm going to snip quite a few because it's all curved. It's important to relieve the tension when we flip the facing to the inside. Now, when we flip this facing to the other side, it's all going to be super neat. So here I'm going to fold it there, that corner. clip it, and the little ruffle comes out through there. The facing is going to go to the inside and it's going to cover all of that, and it's going to be super neat on the inside like this. Normally when I sew a facing, I do understitching, but in this case, I don't really think it's necessary because the facing is completely hidden by the ruffle that stands up against your neck, so you're never going to see it in there. So I'm just going to make sure to press everything nicely. I'm going to go to the iron, press it all flat. While I'm there, I'm going to hand baste this down, the facing, so that it's super neat. And then the last step is to top stitch all around the facing. It's going to keep it nice and flat, won't move anywhere, and it's going to hide all of this ruffle business in there. Okay, there is the facing on the back, nice and flat. I took my time at the iron and it's hand basted right there on the edge. Then it goes towards the front. Front looks like this. So now I'm going to go ahead and top stitch it all the way around. I'm going to be sewing right there where it serged, right there, all the way around. And it's going to end up super neat. Nothing's going to move. I'm not even going to feel that this is here. I like facings because they feel really flat. It's just really comfortable for me. Okay, that's how it looks like from the inside. From the right side, it looks absolutely gorgeous. You can't even tell the facings there. You can barely see the top stitching because of the print. The thread just blends in there, and it turned out amazing. Check out this. Instead of the banded collar, the little ruffle. So nice. I love this finish. Now I'm going to gather the skirt pieces on the front, on the back separately, and then sew the side seams, set in the sleeves, do the hem. This was the interesting bit that I was excited to sew. I find it easier to manage the gathering by doing them separately, the front and the back, doing that first, and then sewing the whole side seams, including the bodice and the skirt as a last step. I'm sewing the bodice to the skirt, the gathers are on the top. I did 2 gathering rows, the same as you saw me do with the ruffle on the neckline, same distance, all the same. After I have the skirt sewn and the sides, then I'll have a completed armhole and I can set in my sleeve. From the scraps, I cut some ties. I'm going to have some seams that no one will know because I joined them up. And it's basically 2 inches here. I folded it like that into the center and then folded again. And now I'm just edge stitching. And that's how I did it without the method that is sewing it right sides together and then flipping it. That is so awkward. I'd rather do this instead. This is extra, not part of the pattern, but I like to define my waist. So this is something I'm adding as extra. I've already assembled my sleeve. Now this could be super easy. I could have just folded it up and hemmed it, but instead I'm going to add a ruffle, which I know is going to be fiddly. It's a small little circumference, but I think it's going to be adorable. I basically cut out the same type of ruffle. I just made sure I had double the circumference of the bottom of my sleeve, you can see there. So just measure that and double it, and that's going to be your piece. I've already folded it wrong sides together. I've made it into a circle. I've sewn that little seam. So I've got that ready. I've got my double row of gathering stitches over here, and it's just about gathering it onto the bottom right here. Here I have a ruffle gathered onto the bottom, right sides together. And the way that I'm going to finish this is with a bias tape. I made this from scraps. I do have a join here and there that won't be noticeable. I use the bias tape maker that ends up being 3/4 of an inch with the folds already done like that. So I kept one of the folds and then I unfolded one and pressed it flat like that. So I just have one edge that's folded up. That's super easy. Now I'm just going to place this on top. This is going to act like a facing, but it's a bias tape. This was actually how the neckline was supposed to be. I just decided to do a facing on mine. So I'm just going to put this, use the same pins I had from doing the ruffle, and I'm just going to pin this all the way around. Here I've pinned the bias tape all the way around, and here I have it cut diagonally. This is actually the straight of grain. And then on this side I have it overlapping by 1/2 inch right there, and it's the same cut it's going to match. And so now when I join these, I have the exact seam allowance to join them, so that I use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then I'm going to have continuous spiced. See, I've got the join on the straight of grain there. And now that's how it's been joined. And I can sew it on the round, flip it to the inside. I had to turn the sleeve wrong sides out, and I'm going to sew from the inside. It's the only way to sew a small circumference like this on the sewing machine. Check it out, that's the bias tape folded to the inside. That fold that we already had right there, I've hand basted it down. It's super neat. Finish on the inside I think is beautiful. And then on the outside, it's just very neat with the ruffle right there on the edge. Now I'm going to edge stitch right there. I'm going to have to flip my sleeve this way now because I want to sew from the inside. There it is, little ruffle. There's a seam up about 5/8 of an inch, but it just blends into the print. No one can see it, and it's super discreet. On the inside, it feels super soft, and I love this. I think it's adorable.
How happy am I to have such a beautiful dress? I have a limited amount of clothes. I'm still going to church every weekend. This is going to be great. I'm just going to throw my puffer jacket on and my combat boots and call it a day. I'm still going to enjoy the beautiful clothes. Even if it's really cold here, I don't really mind. This is just a mood booster. It turned out exactly like I imagined it. Ever since I saw the fabric, I could picture a flowy dress like this, and it's just the perfect design for it, and I'm so happy. I love to sew. I love creating things, picturing them, and then wow, it's real. It's just the best thing. Muse Blouse, beautiful fabric from Liberty of London. Muse dress, beautiful fabric from Frankfurt. I'm gonna so enjoy these garments. I'm gonna remember exactly where I bought them. All the memories are gonna come flooding in. That's why I love fabric souvenirs. It's the best souvenir. Yeah, I'm just so happy. Don't forget that the Muse blouse, or you can make it a dress, is 24% off through Monday the 16th. I have to head back to my sewing space here in the dining area because I'm sewing 2 things that you'll see soon, and I'm very excited about them. So happy to be able to sew. See you soon. Bye.